Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. So let's invoke the blessing of the Lord before reading. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namah Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha अनादिरादिर गोविंद सर्व कारण कारणम। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। So we have been reading from a book Trinadapi Sunichena by Srila Gaur Govinda Swami. Srila Gaur Govinda Swami Maharaj ki jai. And today we have to read from page number 58. Krishna crushes Arjun's pride. Arjun heard Bhagavad Gita directly from the lips of Krishna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Krishna was driving Arjuna's chariot and spoke Bhagavad Gita, imparting Tattva-jnana. Dhritarashtra asked Sanjaya, "What are they doing?" Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre Samaveta मामका पाण्डवाश्चैव किम् अकुर्वत Sanjaya. Dhritarashtra separated them. Mamaka Pandavascheva. My sons and Pandu's sons. Although they were both in Kuru dynasty, when they all assembled in Dharmashetra and there was going to be a battle, Dhritarashtra asked Sanjaya, "What are they doing? What will the result be?" Sanjay described everything, and the last thing he said was, Yatra Yogeshwara Krishno, Yatra Partha Dhanurdharaha, Tatra Shririr Vijaya Bhutir, Dhruvani Tirmatir Mamaha. Wherever there is Krishna, the master of all mystics, and wherever there is Arjuna, the supreme archer, there will also certainly be opulence, victory, extraordinary power, and mortality. That is my opinion. It was explained to Dhritarashtra that the side Krishna and Arjuna were on would be victorious, and that his sons would not be victorious. Because Arjuna received transcendental knowledge, jnana, directly from the lips of Krishna. He developed some pride. I am a great Jnani now. The battle ended, and because Pandavas were victorious, they were all happy. Arjuna and Krishna were in the chariot traveling along the banks of the Yamuna. Passing through some nice gardens, Upavanas, the two friends were happily talking. In his heart, Arjuna had developed some pride that I am a great Jnani. I received transcendental knowledge from Krishna. Krishna is the all knowing personality. He is in the heart as the super soul. Krishna knows very well what you are whispering in your heart. Immediately, Krishna could understand that Arjuna has developed some pride. This is Krishna Lila. At that time, they saw a Jambuka, a jackal. A jackal was moving around the dead human body lying on the ground, just smelling the body, not eating it. Arjuna laughed. O Jambuka Murkha, this jackal is a Murkha, so foolish. He is moving around that dead body, not eating it. He is such a Agyani, bereft of knowledge. If two grey hounds come now, he will run away in fear. Upon hearing this, Krishna stopped the chariot and called the jackal. Hey Jambuka, come here. The jackal came forward, paid obeisances, and sat down with folded hands. Then Krishna asked, O Jambuka, this dead body is your food, but you are not eating it? Why are you just smelling and moving around? The jackal said with much humility, O my lord, you are the all knowing Lord. I am bereft of knowledge. I have no jnana. I am a murkha. I am an animal with very, very low consciousness, covered consciousness. Though this is my food, still there are some things I consider before eating. Krishna asked, what type of consideration does a jackal have? The jackal said, Oh my lord, you know everything. But since you are asking, I must tell you. By smelling that body, I can understand if this person has ever been to Purushotta Dhama or Vrindavana Dhama or Mayapur, Navdeep Dhama, and made Dhama Parikrama, circumambulated the Dhama with his legs or not. By smelling, I can understand it. By smelling his hands, I can understand if this person has ever offered puja, worship to Bhagavan or not. By smelling his eyes, I can understand whether or not this person has ever seen the deity in the temple or had darshan of sadhu Vaishnavas with his eyes or not. By smelling his head, I can understand if this person has ever bowed down before a sadhu Vaishnava or before the deity or not. By smelling his ears, I can understand whether or not he has ever heard Krishna Katha, Bhagavad Katha during his lifetime. By smelling, I can understand all these things. If he has done any of these things, then I won't eat. If he has, oh, sorry, if he has not done any of these things, then I won't eat such impure food. O Lord, we are Pashu, beast, animal. We have no knowledge, nor do we have a right to do any dharma, shubh karma, or anything. Because we are animals, our consciousness is degraded, covered, and shrunken. We have no opportunity to perform any dharma. Only in our eating can some piety be there. If one or more of a dead person's limbs, a hand, a leg, or an ear has performed some devotional act, then I will eat only that portion. Otherwise, I won't eat it. It is impure food. Krishna said, O Jambuka, you are my devotee. You are a great Jnani and a great Bhakta. When he heard the words of Jackal, Arjuna became amazed. Oh, this Jambuka has such jnana. I was thinking myself to be a great Jnani and great Bhakta. But this Jambuka is greater than I am. Such jnana, such bhakti he has. Arjuna had developed that abhimana. No one has jnana like I do because I heard directly from the lips of Krishna. Krishna, in a very wonderful way, crushed Arjuna's pride because he is here. He is his dear devotee. Nij jana samaya dvamsana. In the interest of time, we'll stop here. Next section will start tomorrow. Shila Gaur Govinda Swami Maharaj ki jai. Now we'll read from Shila Prabhupada's Leelamritam. And last Friday we left at 193. And Ishwar Krishna Prabhu has read on Friday. So we are on page number 193. Shila Prabhupada ki jai. Developing Mayapur, the chapter name. Although the devotees had not long been living in the manor and had done little to improve the buildings and grounds, Prabhupada pointed out a place where they could one day build a 30-story temple, the grandest building in all of the London. He proposed that he stay for at least 2 months and install Radha Krishna deities on Janmashtami day. He would also oversee the construction of the temple, room and altar. Every morning at about 6, Prabhupada would leave the manor for an hour's walk. There was no restriction as to who could join him, and sometimes as many as 20 devotees would trail behind, trying to hear anything he might say. Looking off towards the horizon, he commented that Lachmore Heath reminded him of Vrindavana. Prabhupada would walk down the lane to a place called Round Bush, stroll past a wheat field, and finally return to Lechmore Heath and the manor. A local policeman had become friends with devotees and would regularly exchange greetings with Prabhupada. Particularly, Prabhupada liked the cleanliness of the little village, and he would often point out even the smallest pieces of trash on the manor grounds. The village, he said, was much neater than American towns. Shyamasundara had promised Srila Prabhupada many interested visitors, and Srila Prabhupada reciprocated and promising that as long as interested people kept coming, he would remain in England. Each night, one or two guests, including scholars, priests, and occasional celebrities, would come and visit with Prabhupada for a couple of hours. Prabhupada seemed especially eager to present the philosophy of Krishna consciousness to the intelligent persons. The world's foremost Vaishnavas Parampara, philosophers of Gita and Bhagavatam, he had thoroughly realized the conclusions of Vedic literature. He was experienced in countering all challenges and atheistic philosophies and knew what to expect from Christian Mayavadi, atheist, and anyone. If a guest mentioned the name of a philosopher or school of thought unfamiliar to Prabhupada, then Prabhupada simply asked, "What is his philosophy?" Inevitably, he would recognize the new philosophy for what it was: an old, familiar, mundane philosophy, with a new twist, perhaps, easily defeated or brought to its perfection with Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada was always eager to glorify Krishna and repeat Krishna's message, and with complete enthusiastic freshness, he would present again the same points he had presented many, many times before. He said he was like a cow that gives milk in any field. Put him in India or America or England, he would always give the same nectarian milk of Bhagavad Gita. Prabhupada's entire day, his early morning dictations of Chaitanya Charitamrita, morning walk, Bhagavad Gita lecture, talks with guests, revolved around philosophy. In Scotland, when a man had challenged that God need not be presented through philosophy, Prabhupada had replied, "What do you expect me to talk? Some fairy tales?" Philosophy was necessary, especially for so called intelligent persons whose minds raised so many intellectual doubts, and besides, to always be telling others about Krishna, Prabhupada said, was a symptom of love. Moved by compassion for others' suffering, Prabhupada always spoke the message of Krishna and never tired of repeating it. He was genuinely angered by the atheistic speculators who misled the people, because materialistic and impersonalist philosophies ruined a person's chance of finding the solution to life suffering. Whenever Prabhupada heard anyone arguing the Mayavadi doctrine, he would become like fire. He could not tolerate it. He had to correct it. When, after one of Prabhupada's lecture at the manor, a boy had said he had heard someone call the chanting of Hare Krishna a little bit of bluff, Prabhupada had replied, "Who says bluff? Who's that fool? Who's that rascal?" He had been ready to fight the atheist to glorify Krishna. These were Prabhupada's natural drives. Therefore, he could go on and on without stopping. He wanted to give people Krishna consciousness. He had no other life. Even while relaxing in the privacy of his room, he always spoke of Krishna consciousness. The devotees had invited many prominent British citizens to meet Srila Prabhupada, and the responses were good. Economist Ernest Schumacher promised to visit, as did philosopher Sir Alfred J. Ayer. When Shyam Sundara informed Prabhupada that Mr. Ayer was well known, Prabhupada replied, "What is his philosophy?" "Well," Shyam Sundara replied, "he does not believe in the existence of God." "I will give him evidence," Prabhupada replied. "I will ask him what he means by the existence of God. I will ask him to make a list of the deficiencies of God's existence." Prabhupada liked to meet with philosophers' men and corner them and defeat them. Historian Arnold Toynbee was old and invalid. Therefore, Prabhupada agreed to visit him at his residence. Interested in discussing life after death, Dr. Toynbee asked Prabhupada about karma. Most people, he said, were afraid of death. Prabhupada agreed and added that according to certain astrologers, one One, one of India's recent leader had taken birth as a dog. So they are afraid they will go down, he said. When Toynbee asked if karma would be changed, Prabhupada replied, but only by bhakti, devotion to God. Arnold Toynbee, not many people in the West are thinking of this. Prabhupada, they are less intelligent. It is not good. If they take to Krishna consciousness, they can continue to work and live in the city, but they can change their consciousness. Then automatically everything will come. Srila Prabhupada asked Dr. Toynbee about the book he was writing, and the professor replied that it is concerned ancient Greece influence on the Greece of today. The Greeks came from India, Prabhupada said. Vedic culture was once all over the world. Gradually, a new type of culture, just like this recent partition of India Pakistan, took place. Prabhupada explained how in the future the governments would fall to rascals and thieves whose only business would be to exploit the citizens. Food will be scarce, and the governments would levy so many taxes that the people would be harassed and go to forest for shelter. Only God conscious people would be free. The future would be an ocean of faults with what but one saving factor. Simply by chanting Krishna's names, one could be freed. Even now, Prabhupada said, the hippies were going to the forest, and men were separated from their wives and money, and were going to the hills and forest in disappointment. You can predict the future in this way, Prabhupada said. Arnold Toynbee, in India, did the politicians keep the Vedas? Prabhupada, no, they threw them away. Present Indian politicians are not very satisfied with the Vedas. They threw them in the water. I have started among the Indians and Americans, and for the next 10,000 years, Krishna consciousness will increase. Then there will be a gloomy picture of Kali Yuga. 10,000 years is not a short time. It is our duty on behalf of Krishna. Arnold Toynbee. Do you travel much? Prabhupada, all over the world. A bearded young priest active in social service visited Prabhupada and upon Prabhupada's prodding, debated with him about meat eating and the Bible. During this discussion, Hamsaduta and Pradumna were citing passages from Bible against meat eating. Later, after the priest had left, Prabhupada called Hamsaduta back into his room and said, it was not very good for us to speak on the basis of Bible. Better we stick to Gita. Why bother to approach them for compromise or cooperation? They will never be convinced. What is the point of meeting with the Pope? Those inclined to meat eating, Prabhupada said, could always find some quote in the Bible, such as the covenant with Noah after the flood. We don't even know what ghastly things are occurring in the slaughterhouse. He said, no one sees these things. The next morning on his walk, Prabhupada continued discussing his talk with the priest. In the name of religion, Prabhupada said, they are killing. Bhagavatam says this cheating religion is kicked out and simply worship of God is instated. Devotee. Quote, the priest last night said that Jesus ate meat. Prabhupada. Then Jesus contradicted himself. He also said, thou shalt not kill. One should not imitate the Ishwaras. A hippie type mendicant in India takes ganja and claim to be devotee of Shiva. No, we should not imitate the powerful controllers. That priest said that also that the Bible does not say, thou shalt not kill, but thou shalt not murder. So I told him that if the word is actually thou shalt not murder in the original Hebrew, then Jesus must have been preaching to fourth class, 10th class man murderers. And the proof is that they murdered him. So much, so such people, what can they understand about God? When I told him, the priest was silent. He could not answer. Another peace priest came to see Prabhupada, and again the questions came. Prabhupada asked him, then you are in favor of killing? Priest replied, well, it is a fallen world. It is a fallen world, said Prabhupada. But we do not have to be among the fallen. The priest cited the covenant with Noah. Prabhupada replied, maybe Noah allowed it at that time, the time of devastation. But that does not mean you always have to do it. To live in a such time, one can eat anything to stay alive. But now so many things are in abundance to keep healthy without maintaining a slaughterhouse. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, protect the cows. It is the duty of the Vaishyas. Although Prabhupada willingly discussed with Christians, he admitted privately that to argue with them was a waste of time. They will never agree, he said, even if they are defeated. The best way is to preach to people in general was through chanting of Hare Krishna, as at the Rath Yatra festival. Chant, dance, and take prasadam, and invite everyone to join. Anyway, he said, they do not follow their teachings. One boy came to me and said he wanted to talk. He said, I am a Christian. But I told him, you are not a Christian. Thou shalt not kill. A man from Calcutta came to see Prabhupada. But as soon as the man began to say something about Krishna, Prabhupada interrupted. Krishna is something very difficult to understand. We are not just trying to understand that there is a next life. We are just trying to understand that there is a next life. But the Christian says there is no future life, the man said. At the end of this one, you either go to heaven or hell. But if they talk about going to heaven, said Prabhupada, then that is the next life. But the knowledge of Krishna is only for the most perfect out of thousands among men. A Mr. Kumar, who sometimes lived in London temple, visited Prabhupada with many questions. He wanted to work for ISKCON, he said, but required money to send his mother in India. No, Prabhupada told him. Our men work 24 hours a day without a farthing. Mr. Kumar suggested ways to improve ISKCON. Devotees needed to study more, he said, especially Sanskrit and become scholars. Prabhupada disagreed. All we need is dedication, he said. I am not a great Sanskrit scholar, but I am pulling on. And even the scholars say it is good. My Guru Maharaj, Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, was illiterate. Still, his disciple Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Ji Prabhupada was the greatest scholar of the day. But when Gaur Kishore spoke, it was exactly from the Shastra. Our principle is not to take time to learn something and become expert and then preach. But whatever you know, preach. Class in the morning, class in the evening, and if they read my books, that is sufficient. One day, the devotees brought Prabhupada a newspaper clipping in which an Oxford professor, Dr. D. Zener, had said at a religion conference that Lord Krishna and his Bhagavad Gita teachings were immortal. Dr. Zener had said a famous murderer was perhaps influenced by Bhagavad Gita because Krishna says that soul is immortal, so no one therefore kill. Srila Prabhupada was disgusted at the professor's ignorance. On his morning walk, he dictated to his secretary argument to use in writing to Dr. Zener. George Harrison approached Prabhupada in a submissive mood, similar to that of Prabhupada's disciple. Prabhupada and George took prasadam together, a special lunch of samosas, halwa, vegetables, sour cream, and puris. While they were enjoying the prasadam, Prabhupada mentioned that certain Vrindavan pandas, professional guides at a holy place, eat too much. Once one ate so much that he was practically dying, but he assured his son, "At least I am dying from eating and not from starving." To die of starvation is unglorious. Prabhupada smiled as he talked with George, gratefully acknowledging his donation of the manor. "Have you seen my room?" Prabhupada asked. "It is actually your house, but my room." "No," George protested, preferring the mood of a humble disciple. "It is Krishna's house and your room." When George confided to Prabhupada that by taking to Krishna conscious, when George confided to Prabhupada that by taking to Krishna consciousness he was losing friends, Prabhupada told him not to worry. He read to George from Gita, where Krishna explains that he can be known only by devotional service. "In the future," said George, "ISKCON will be so large it will require executive management." Prabhupada: "I have divided the world into 12 zones with 12 representatives. As long as they keep to the spiritual principles, Krishna will help them." Before leaving, George assured Prabhupada that he would help him increase his temples. Later, Prabhupada commented, "George is getting inward hope from Krishna." One day, an old acquaintance dropped by, Allen Ginsberg, wearing denims, suspenders, and a faded shirt and carrying a little Indian made harmonium. "You are still chanting Hare Krishna?" Prabhupada asked. "Yes," Allen replied. "I still chant Hare Krishna, but I also chant other things." Allen asked if Prabhupada would like to hear his chanting and playing. Prabhupada nodded. Allen began playing his harmonium and chanting Om. With each recitation of word Om, his voice went deeper. Om. When the chant was over, Prabhupada began to laugh. "You can chant whatever you want to chant," he said, "but just keep chanting Hare Krishna. As long as you are chanting Hare Krishna, then everything else is all right." Prabhupada then allowed many devotees to join them for a big blissful kirtan. Through George Harrison, another famous pop singer and musician, Donovan, was drawn to come and see the renowned leader of Hare Krishna movement. Donovan, accompanied by a musician friend and their two girlfriends in miniskirts, sat in awkward silence before Prabhupada. Prabhupada spoke. "There is a verse in the Vedas that says music is the highest form of education." And he began to explain how a musician could serve Krishna. "You should do like your friend George," Prabhupada said. "We will give you the themes and you can write the songs." Prabhupada said that Anything, even money, could be used in the service of Krishna. But money is material, Donovan girl's girlfriend interrupted. What do you know? What is material and spiritual? Prabhupada said. He turned to Donovan. Do you understand? Donovan humbly replied that he was thick headed but trying. Donovan's girlfriend then leaned over and whispered something into his ear. Whereupon Donovan stood up and said, "Well, we have to go now." Prabhupada insisted that at least they first take some prasadam. As soon as guests left, Prabhupada and his disciple began to laugh. Prabhupada said, "She was thinking," and he encouraged his disciples to finish the sentence. "Yes," said Yogeshwar, "she was thinking that if Krishna gets him, then she will lose him." Prabhupada so much liked preaching to important guests that he wanted to continue doing so wherever he traveled. "Wherever I should go now," Prabhupada wrote in a letter to a disciple, "this policy of important men being invited to talk with me about our Krishna consciousness movement should be implemented." A month passed at the manor, and still several weeks remained before Janmashtami and deity installation. So when Bhagavan requested Prabhupada to come for a visit to Paris and install Radha Krishna deities, Prabhupada agreed. Paris, August 9, 1973. Devotees had arranged an official city hall reception for Srila Prabhupada in the presence of the mayor of Paris and his government entourage. Srila Prabhupada said that if the government leaders do not teach their citizens genuine God consciousness, then they are not responsible leaders. Reporting this talk in the next day paper, a news writer stated that the Swami even criticized Napoleon Bonaparte. Bhagavan. We had just moved into our new temple at 4 Rue Les Paris, and we had received a 48-inch Radha and Krishna deities. Prabhupada had Pradyumna chanting the mantras and pouring the substances on the deities, while Prabhupada himself looked on from his Vyasasana, giving directions. I was assisting, and at one point I turned around and saw Srila Prabhupada standing right next to me, taking the substances in his own hands and smearing them over the lotus like face of Srimati Radharani. After the deities were installed on the altar, Srila Prabhupada came up and offered the arti and assisted him by handing him the articles. After the installation, we went up to Srila Prabhupada's room and very anxiously requested him to please give a name for the deities. He sat back in his chair and said, "The deities will be known as Radha Paris Ishvara." He then went on to say that in India, people look to England for education and to Paris for sense gratification. He began to laugh and said, "Krishna has come to Paris in order to get some gopis, some French girls, because the faces of the women in Paris are considered the most beautiful." Radharani's is so beautiful, Prabhupada said, just like a Paris girl. And Krishna has come here to find out this most beautiful of all the gopis. So he is Paris Ishvara. So we'll stop here in the interest of time. Anybody has any question, comment, realizations, or any chastisement? We'll wait for 30 seconds and then we'll close. All right. So we'll wrap up and continue our chanting. Vancha kalpatarubhesha kripa sindhuve च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः अनंत कोटि वैष्णविंद की जय. Thank you, dear devotees, for listening to me, and please forgive me if I not pronounce correctly. Thank you very much. Now we'll continue chanting.